Hello and a very warm welcome to our special segment where we're going to break down Rahul Gandhi's fiery speech in the parliament, one that questioned the government's vision, challenged its policies and took sharp jabs at the Prime Minister himself. Now, from calling the Make in India initiative a failure over raising alarm about illegal migration and voter data manipulation, Rahul Gandhi had, of course, plenty to say. We're going to continue to throw to those excerpts from his fiery speech as well. He accused the government of failing the unemployed, misleading the nation on China and ignoring the caste census demand. But is this just another political attack, or is there substance to his claims? We're going to put his speech under the scanner, fact-check the numbers, decode the strategy and ask, did Rahul Gandhi land a political punch or was this just rhetoric? Joining me for this deep dive in the studio is Savi Rodriguez, founder and editor-in-chief, Goa Chronicle. We also have with us KG Suresh, senior journalist and political analyst. Ajit K. Jha, senior journalist with us on the broadcast as well. Advocate Nikhil Jain, political analyst, is soon going to be with us. But first, let's listen in to some excerpts. Let's start by what he had to say about voter manipulation, voter fraud, and of course, Maharashtra Assembly elections that was again brought to the fore. Key statements from his parliament speech. Listen in.
Sir, Maharashtra mein more voters were added in 5 months in Maharashtra than were added in 5 years in Maharashtra. जितने 5 साल में ऐड हुए उससे ज्यादा 5 महीने में ऐड हुए, आखिरी 5 महीने में। हमने इलेक्शन कमीशन से रिपीटेडली कहा है कि हम आरोप नहीं लगा रहे हैं, आप एक काम कीजिए, हमें लोकसभा की वोटर लिस्ट दे दीजिए, नेम एड्रेस और इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली दीजिए, और विधानसभा नहीं है। नहीं सर, स्पीकर सर, द इलेक्शन कमिश्नर used to be chosen by the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and the Chief Justice. Sir, the Chief Justice was removed from that committee. Why? Why? This is the question, sir. This is the question to the Prime Minister. Why was the Chief Justice removed from the committee? Now, in a few days, I'm going to go to the meeting. I'm going to go to the meeting. There's going to be Mr. Amit Shah and Mr. Modi ji. And there's going to be me. 2 to 1. Why am I even going to the meeting? What is the purpose of me going to the meeting? I'm only going to the meeting to certify what Modi ji and Amit Shah ji are going to say. Right? Whereas if the Chief Justice was there could be a discussion. Chief Justice and Leader of Opposition could say, no, we don't agree. So, there seems to be a calculated strategy. Now, just prior to the Lok Sabha, the election commissioner was changed and 2 new election commissioners were placed.
Yes.
We know that the election dates were changed.
Yes.
We know that the elections were postponed. These are facts. These are not things I am inventing. So, in order to safeguard this constitution, the entire opposition requests the data for the Maharashtra election. We request the data and the electoral voter list for Lok Sabha and the corresponding list for Vidhan Sabha.
And that was just one of the excerpts. We're going to continue to play those out, but let's get the snowball rolling here. Ajit K. Jha, you've covered multiple parliamentary debates. How would you assess Rahul Gandhi's speech? He's holding the constitution like he has been. He's raked up a plethora of issues, right from the election commission to, of course, China, the Make in India initiative. He spoke about the Telangana caste census as well. I mean, the entire speech, was this an effective critique of the government, or was this a political show? Let's get the debate going.
Well, he is the leader of the opposition, right, Rahul Gandhi? So obviously he has to critique the government. If he doesn't do this, he's not functioning as a leader of the opposition. So from that perspective, whatever critiques he did, he's probably right. But the question is it fair? I mean, one of the points made, which I kind of went through when I was listening to the speech and reading it, he said that India hasn't done very well in manufacturing. Perhaps yes, I agree with him. But when has India done well in manufacturing? It has never done well in manufacturing compared to China. Even during the Congress regime, even in the past, India has actually, they have to ask this question fundamentally. India has failed as a manufacturing nation compared to, let's say, China, compared to some Latin American countries, other developing nations. So when he says that, it would be great if he would say the entire story rather than simply attack the Modi government on that. Yes, Make in India has not been as much of a success as may be intended to, because as I pointed out, manufacturing requires a lot of preconditions which we don't have in India at the moment. It needs to be created. For example, economies of scale. They need to create very large production bases, which we don't have compared to China. And China is already a monopoly. In fact, it's the hub of manufacturing in the world. So we need to compete with that, and that is going to take a while. But the fact is that the Modi government has tried its best. It might have not satisfied and failed its intentions, but they have made a serious effort. So Rahul Gandhi, I would argue, is correct when he's giving figures that, for example, the manufacturing, let's say, the percentage in the overall economy was much higher than today. One reason, I think, is the COVID period. And second reason is that overall, India hasn't quite done, as I again pointed out, as good as China on that. There is a bit of a sliver of hope because of this entire trade war going on between the US and China, and the fact that, we have already seen the latest where US has put 10% tariff on China, 25% on Mexico and Canada. So we have a sliver of hope. We haven't been, the Trump government has not imposed any kind of tariffs yet on India. So our exports can continue. Of course, in the long term, we need to bring down our own tariff rates. But at the same time, there is some hope, especially of those companies which have pulled out of China. So it's a slow process, but he is right in the sense that the Make in India has not been as a great a success.
He's right, but he should divulge the entire story over here as well. We've got that reaction. We're going to quickly play that out. But before that, Savya, I want your reactions in on this, because talking about the Maharashtra, voter election, he's spoken about the poll panel and how the CGI was removed from the poll panel that was going to select the upcoming, head of the poll panel, the chief election commissioner. We're talking about a sudden surge of fake voters. He's talked about 70 lakh voters suddenly coming, on the voter list. He's compared that with the entire population of Himachal Pradesh. Now, firstly, how credible are these arguments, and do you see these arguments impacting the upcoming polls? We're looking at the Delhi Assembly elections. Even with the budget, people couldn't stop talking about the Bihar bonanza as well.
Well, Rahul Gandhi is entitled to his allegations, but the allegations remain allegations until you are able to prove it and take it to the court of law. So if Rahul Gandhi has the temerity to come out with the allegations, then I hope he has the temerity to take the allegations to a logical conclusion. See, the question that really troubles a lot of people is, when do you start questioning the election commission? Were you questioning the election commission when the Congress won the Telangana elections? The answer is no. You start questioning the election commission when you don't win elections, which you think you are going to win a considerable amount of seats, like in Maharashtra. Would they question the election commission in Delhi? I doubt it, because they're going to end up with probably 2 or 3 seats in Delhi or no seats in Delhi. So the point is, Rahul Gandhi's allegations at best are allegations that are done as a leader of opposition. If those allegations have merit, he needs to take it to a logical conclusion. But let me state one thing very important. The comment on Make in India, for somebody like me who spent the last 12 and a half months researching on...
Do you mind if you listen into that reaction before
Please.
Please divulge your thoughts and opinions? Let's quickly listen into what Rahul Gandhi had to say when he said that the government has failed the Make in India initiative, also targeting China and US on AI, data and robotics. Let's listen in.
The Prime Minister has denied that Chinese forces are inside our territory, but for some reason, our army keeps talking to the Chinese about their entry into our territory, and our Chief of Army Staff has said that the Chinese are inside our territory. This is a fact. This is not invention, this is a fact. Now, but the reason China is inside our territory is important. Because people think that wars are fought between armies and their weapons. But the fact of the matter is that wars are fought by industrial systems. The fact of the matter is that China has an industrial system that is far stronger, far bigger than our industrial system. And that is why they have the guts to come inside this country. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because Make in India has failed. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because India is refusing to produce.
Well, Savio, back to you. What do you make of
Okay,
those
so
statements?
for somebody who spent the last 12 and a half months researching on a book which is now about 648 pages, which will be releasing by the end of the month, the book documents every single initiative taken by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the last 10 years. I can tell you without a doubt that Make in India is a success. I'll give you one classic example. It's an example I love to give. It's an area that I work in, which is startups. During the UPA era, the number of startups were 350. Okay? Now, under the Startup India initiative, over the last 10 years, more so in the last 5 years, we are 1,18,257 startups. Should I get into data of the MSMEs? Should I get into data of the SMEs? Should I get into data which are employment generating activities that have been done, wherein they are not necessarily an organized company. They are freelancers within the space of being electricians to being plumbers to being various other activities, skills basically. So you're looking at Make in India, and we're looking at this entire concept of challenging China in the wrong way. Why should India and China be in competition with each other? Why should India and the US be in competition with each other? Let's say, for example, you are a guy with a skill set in cricket and you do extremely well in cricket and you get honors for the country in cricket. So somebody who's a footballer who also gets honors for the country in football, are they different? They're still representing the country, right? So China has got its own skill sets. India's got its own skill sets. If China's making AI, doesn't mean India has to make AI. Does any of the other nations have as robust a UPI like us? Please look at the countries around you. They are taking examples from us. So we have to develop our strengths. We have to develop the technology that benefits India, and then India benefits the rest of the world. Why should we ape China? If China is going to jump into the well and extract water from the well, are we also to jump into the same well? No. So US and China are not our competitions. We are not competing with them. We are creating our own markets, our own niche. For example, for a very long time, if you go by Bollywood and Hollywood production, everything was about Hollywood movies, right? Bollywood started creating its own niche of its own. Today, are not Hollywood people wanting to be associated with Bollywood movies? As an example, so what does that mean? We are creating a niche of our own. The song and dance routine, which was first laughed at by America, is now being adopted by America as well. So we are not in competition with US and China. We are creating our niche and we will stamp our foot as far as India is concerned.
Right.
Our technology prowess does not have to be China. Our technology prowess doesn't have to be manufacturing. Why should it be that?
So essentially not the right comparison done by the leader of opposition there.
I think he's fixated with China. His fixation with China has come because of the MOU he signed in 2008, not with the Chinese political party, but he signed it with the International Liaison Department, which is nothing but the Foreign Covert Intelligence Agency. So since then, China has been benefiting when the Congress UPA government was around, and now he wants that benefit to accrue. So I am stating as a responsible journalist, the day Rahul Gandhi makes that MOU public, we will know the real intent of his China relationship.
All right. Mr. Suresh, Rahul Gandhi also spoke about Telangana's caste census. He spoke about OBCs, he spoke about Dalits, tribals. He said 90% in Telangana are OBCs, Dalits from the minority. And then he pointed out to several members inside the parliament. He said, people inside the BJP who are, minority, OBC, Adivasis, aren't able to, freely speak up. Now, is this a genuine concern that the LOP has put forth, or this is another attempt to polarize sentiments? Telangana caste census is another headline that we're talking about in today's time.
Well, Kabir, initially, though, I thought that it is a positive gesture on the part of the leader of opposition when he started praising the Prime Minister for some of the initiatives, like as a concept, Make in India is good. The Prime Minister did try, but then he got into the politics of it, because I initially thought that now maybe we are now getting into the politics of consensus. But somewhere I think that again we have gone back to allegations and counter allegations, and I was really disappointed, particularly the way a comparison was sought to be made with China. Now, if that is the condition in 1962, and 62,000 square kilometer of land was occupied by the Chinese, was our manufacturing policy responsible for that? Now, the thing is that at least in the last 10 years, there is a serious effort to make, and he himself has admitted, make in India a reality. And from a services sector economy, we are now moving towards a manufacturing economy. A lot of investor meets are taking place. A lot of investment is coming in. Startup India, Make in India, Atal Tinkering Labs. Even in this budget, we have announced another 70,000 Atal Tinkering Labs to promote research, innovation in the education system. I am associated with the education system. I know the revolutionary changes that are taking place, vocationalization of Pradhan Mantri, Kaushal Vikas Yojana, skill development. That's all aimed at promoting entrepreneurship like anything. Now, to compare ourselves with a dictatorship like China, where you don't have any democratic norms to follow, and you can, demolish, create whatever you like, and there is nobody to question you. You just cannot compare, and that too, you cannot compare 10 years. China, like they say, Rome was not built in a day. Even the present day China was not built in a day. It has taken decades for China to reach where it is today. So now we have started working only in the last decade or so, when there is a serious effort. So I think that it is unfortunate that this kind of a comparison was sought to be made. So far as caste, well, we know that now even beauty pageants, we are saying that, there should be reservations even in beauty pageants. This is crass caste politics that is being practiced, and I can very well understand, because let us understand that he is also catering to the Delhi election audience, the upcoming elections in Bihar. So obviously, as a politician, I would expect him to play the caste card, given the fact that the Bharatiya Janata Party in the last decade has given maximum representation to the scheduled castes, to the OBCs. So obviously, they want to, get into that domain and to say that we are, had that been the case, unfortunately, I am really sorry to say, the unfortunate comments made on the Honorable President of India, that certainly does not reflect any respect for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes of this country. Well, that's what I believe.
We have Nikhil Jain also with us, political analyst, and I was actually going to talk about that because, you know what, Nikhil, Rahul Gandhi started by saying that, the president's address was a laundry list with no solutions. It sort of came off as, a placating bid to what happened with that poor thing, Rao, and, how that was also defended by the Congress spokespersons on various media channels throughout the day. But when we're talking about this laundry list with no solutions, I mean, isn't the opposition's job also to present that vision? Now, many are also arguing whether his speech, in fact, missed that portion. Why didn't he put out that vision? He sort of made this into an opportunity to attack the government instead. How do you react to that?
So, Kabir, since the previous three speakers sort of tended to lean towards the BJP, I would take some time to respond to the various things that have been said against the Congress and what Rahul Gandhi said in the Parliament. To begin with, what you say that isn't the opposition's job to present a vision. I'm sorry, that is not the opposition's job. The job to present a vision for the country's development is with the government, because they're the ones who have the infrastructure and wherewithal to do it all. Regardless, the Congress party has multiple times presented a vision, even while staying in the opposition, on how we could proceed about things. When Rahul Gandhi is talking about organizing production in the country, he is talking about setting up infrastructural prerequisites that are needed for effective and efficient manufacturing. Now, you cannot expect somebody sitting in the lead in the opposition without any access to the secretariats, to the bureaucrats, to the government policy think tanks, and all of that to come up with precise solutions. So far as broad solutions are concerned, the Congress party has time and again given it. One of the solutions that they've implemented in the states that they're ruling, Karnataka, are social welfare measures in terms of giving cash handouts to people in the lower strata of the economic pyramid, which is increasing consumption in the state. It is giving free bus rides and other economic opportunities to women, which is increasing the labor force participation. So these are solutions that have been presented by the opposition. That being said, I feel Rahul Gandhi, as the leader of opposition, his primary job is to critique the government and the president and the prime minister and tell them where they're going wrong. And the government's job should be to listen to his solutions or his criticism and act upon it fairly instead of trying to make it a political jab and jibe and jab all the time. And but sadly, that is what we've been seeing in our in the country's politics in the past 10 years, where it is all about president ko kisne kya bola. When a person who's not a native Hindi speaker says something about the president, he calls him, he does not address her by Rashtrapati, but some other feminine word, which he thought was right. The BJP created such a hue and cry about it. I understand the word was not right, but you have to cut him some slack. He was not a native Hindi speaker. Those are the kind of points that the BJP wants to discuss in the parliament instead of talking about the real issues. So let me now come to the real issues and the points that were addressed so far. Mr. Jha, in his opening comments, he said that when has India been known for manufacturing? I think he's forgetting that India is one of the largest steel manufacturers in the world. For decades, we were known for our textile production. We were the garment factory of the world. We produced a lot of railway engines, coaches, tracks. We are called the pharmacy of the world. We produce a lot of generic drugs and the active pharmaceutical ingredients that are required for it. We were one of the largest exporters, manufacturers, and exporters of two-wheelers and auto components in the world. So far as the share of the manufacturing GDP from 2004 to 14 is concerned, let me tell you some figures here. 2004, it was 15.83%. 2014, it was 15.07%. Between 4 to 14, the figures stayed between 15 to 17%. Manufacturing as a share of the total GDP. However, since 2014, when we had this Make in India campaign and so many ideas by the Prime Minister and so many brands, sort of brand campaigns that were done by the Prime Minister, since 14 we have dropped to 12.84%. Since 2014, our numbers have been, ranging between 15 to 13% of the GDP. And in terms of actual numbers, if you talk about it, 2004 it was $112 billion manufacturing GDP. 14 it was $307 billion. That's almost a 3 times rise. However, in 2024, what we are looking at is $480 billion estimate. So the Congress government in its 10 years was able to increase the manufacturing GDP of the country by 3 times, but this government has only been able to increase it by 1.5 times in the same, in the same time. Now, and you say that what has the Congress done in terms of, increasing or supporting manufacturing in the country? Are we forgetting the idea of the industrial model townships? So many of the factories and the production that is happening in this country is happening in an organized industrial cluster, which was entirely a Congress idea. And this government has not done anything to build upon it. Now, one more thing, Mr. Suresh, I think, Mr. Suresh said that we are now moving from a service economy to a manufacturing economy. First of all, that is not how economic.
Nikhil, I can clearly see this turn into a parliamentary style, high school debate. I don't want that to happen. We were only trying to decode what Rahul Gandhi said, and many thanks for your insights and inputs. We need to understand both sides of the divide as well. And to all the 3 gentlemen with me in the studio as well, this isn't about spokesperson upmanship. We're just trying to decode, and we did speak about the Maharashtra angle. We did talk about the Make in India initiative. We spoke about the laundry list that Rahul Gandhi spoke about, the comparison with China, how credible was that or not. But ladies and gentlemen, as the political drama unfolds, one thing, it remains certain that every allegation, every counterclaim and every debate shapes the road to the upcoming polls. In the end, it's the voters who hold the ultimate power to decide the direction of our democracy. And with the high stakes and intense scrutiny that we've already seen, thanks to the gentleman and Nikhil who's joined us via the digital medium, the coming days are going to be crucial. We're going to continue to bring you